You talk about wins and losses. 10 wins in 2022, 12 wins in 2023, 13 wins in 2024. Up, up, and up. Wins is one story that's being told by Dan Lanning's program right now, but another story is NFL draft picks. This past weekend at the NFL draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin, go Pack Go, by the way, is another story that's being told about the ascension year by year by year of this Oregon Ducks football program. Not only are wins being added and ascending every single year, but also NFL draft picks. Last season, the 2024 NFL draft, Oregon had a then record 8 draft picks. Team record, most Ducks ever taken in an NFL draft. This year, they eclipsed that by 2 with 10 NFL draft picks. So back-to-back years in the Lanning era that they have eclipsed that Oregon mark. And here's something, a stat that I saw on Twitter that I think really proclaims where Lanning's Ducks are compared to Ducks, where Ducks programs were in previous eras of Oregon football, and just the amount of development that is happening right now in Eugene, Oregon. Lanning has produced 24 NFL draft picks in the last 3 seasons. This was on Twitter, as I said before, from West Coast CFB, great Twitter account that covers all the programs in the Western United States of America. Oregon had 23 players drafted in the 8 drafts before Lanning arrives. Dan has eclipsed that by 1 in 5 less seasons, folks. I think right now, in 2025, at this moment in time, Dan Lanning is hitting the absolute sweet spot of his career. I really do. When he came into this Ducks program, he was able to recruit very well from the start. Of course, throughout his career, listen to some of the interviews that he's done. He's cut his teeth in recruiting. He's been a great recruiter. Of course, he did a really good job at Georgia when he was there as the defensive coordinator, and he's carried that over to Oregon. He did it from the outset, bringing in high-quality high school talent. Originally, when Dan came in, hey, we can sell you on our culture. We can sell you on Nike. We can sell you on an opportunity. You can sell you on all of these certain things. Now Dan can go into a living room of an offensive lineman. We know that offensive line recruiting is certainly a priority for Oregon in this 2026 class. He can go into the living room of an offensive lineman and say, we have put in 2 top 50 picks the last 2 seasons. Josh Connerly, a first-round draft pick this past year. Jackson Powers Johnson was a top 50 overall pick in the 2024 draft to the Las Vegas Raiders as well. Not only now Dan can sell that vision that he had when he started in 2022, now he can sell victories. Now he can sell a Big Ten championship. And I think most of all, he can sell the NFL success of some of these guys that he's been able to produce. Because, now in today's day and age of college football, NIL, everybody says NIL is such a huge part to recruiting, but that is certainly a big part. But I still think the end goal, especially at high-level recruiting right now, where you're competing for championships, it comes down to really 2 things. It is competing for championships, number 1, winning football games, and number 2, how are you going to get me to the league? How are you going to get me to the NFL? All right, making this $800,000, making this $1 million, making this $2 million is really good right now, but how do you get me to that second NFL contract? How do you get me in a situation where I can have a really good rookie deal and then be able to portray that and able to translate that into the second NFL deal, which is, of course, what everybody talks about. That's your big payday. It's not in college. College isn't your big payday. It's the second NFL contract, and that's where everybody certainly wants to get to. And the picture and the path has been clearer than ever at Oregon to get to that level than it ever has. Only Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas had more draft picks in the 2025 NFL draft than the Oregon Ducks. It is no coincidence that Oregon is competing on the recruiting trail with Ohio State, maybe for some wide receivers and certainly other positions as well. They're competing with Georgia for guys like Jackson Cantwell and Jared Curtis. At Texas, I know there aren't as many recruiting battles with Texas, but they're an elite recruiting program as well. They are in that stratosphere. There is no question about it. And the more that they can put into the NFL, there's going to be a back-end effect where more elite talent is going to recognize that, and you're going to be able to continue churn out class after class after class, both draft and recruiting at the exact same time. It's reload, not rebuild. Oregon is building a program. They are not building teams. I don't know if you, at least in the recent future, as long as Dan is here, I'm not sure if you'll see a situation where Oregon drops down like how Michigan dropped down, because it was very clear with Michigan that they were building up to a certain point. And once that point happened, Jim Harbaugh was going to leave and they were going to fall off. Maybe they fell off a little bit more than some people like myself certainly expected. And of course, you have the rivals up north in Seattle. You have Washington, right, where they built up to a great football team, and then they fell off the way they did. Those two teams that were in the national championship game fell off to barely bowl teams this past season. So Oregon is not that type of program. Oregon has the Georgia model. Oregon has the old Nick Saban Alabama model, which shouldn't surprise anybody, because where has Dan Lanning learned from? Kirby Smart and Nick Saban. The blueprint that he has taken from the Southeast, he's brought it to the Pacific Northwest, certainly at Oregon. I think one thing that maybe goes a little bit under the radar is also the NFL success. You know, hey, you get guys to the draft. I remember USC had a lot of quarterbacks that would be drafted very highly, but their NFL careers were sometimes hit or miss. Ohio State quarterbacks over the course of time maybe haven't exactly panned out as well in the NFL as they were at the college level as well. Like, you look at Bo Nix is a picture-perfect example. You have a guy that was kind of struggling a little bit at Auburn. He comes to Oregon, and it's very clear that in his 2 years with the Ducks, they developed him into the quarterback that I think we all know that he could be to begin with. And then he goes to the NFL and has the year that he did with the Denver Broncos, and he's a franchise quarterback. Okay? So when you look at it from a transfer perspective, that is something great that certainly fits on the wall as well. You look at it from a recruit perspective. How about Troy Franklin? Troy Franklin and what he was able to do under the development of Junior Adams within this Dan Lanning football program as well. And then he had a pretty good year getting the ball thrown to him by Bo Nix in Denver last year, although he was a transfer. Look at Bucky Irving in Tampa last year. Like, there is now not only a proven development and a proven track record of saying, hey, okay, we can take high school players, we can take transfers, and we can get them to be NFL draft picks, but we have prepared them enough that once they get to the league, once they get to the NFL, then they can have successful careers. And a lot of our guys have successful tenures in the NFL, and they don't flame out, and we don't have a lot of busts. I think you're going to see a lot of these players that were drafted in 2025 have successful careers. I really love Terrence Ferguson with the LA Rams. I'm really excited in that Sean McVay offense to see what he can do, because the tight end position in the NFL, especially those athletic tight ends, you know, Travis Kelce and George Kittle and some of these other guys are getting a little bit more run now. So I'm really excited to see what he can do certainly as well. The NFL draft continues to tell the story of the ascension to the next level of this Oregon Ducks team. I think this next draft, this next season, you could, I think, see maybe the record number of Ducks taken in the first round of the NFL draft. People have talked about Isaiah World. People have talked about Mateo Uiagalelei. Would not be surprising to see maybe Kenyon Sadiq work his way up into that point, certainly as well. So the future is ever bright, certainly with Oregon and what they're doing it from a developmental standpoint, getting guys to professional football.